Glad you've been with us this week at Area 5 U2. We've been focusing on mental health and mental well-being. We've been talking about very important things like finding purpose, how important that is to our mental well-being. We've been talking about just different attributes and renewing our mind on trustworthy and truthful principles. And so today, we're just delighted to have Krista with us today. Krista's the Assistant Director at Ford County Counseling, and she comes with a large background of experience, and she's going to share with us today some principles that we can learn from and grow from. And so we're glad that you're here with us today. Thank you for coming in.
Glad to be here.
Tell us a bit about yourself, how long you've been doing what you've been doing,
Sure.
and share anything you'd like to.
All right. Yeah. My name is Krista. I am an Assistant Director of School-Based Services here in Cass County. And I have been with Ford County for 7 years. An assistant director for the last 3. I did start as a skills trainer working directly with our youth, skill building, and I had actually previously worked for Area 5, and while I was with Area 5, I had gotten my bachelor's in psychology, and that is when I decided to kind of shift gears over to Ford County. Ford County, actually we have services in more than just our 4 counties of Cass, Miami, Fulton, and Pulaski. We also have expanded into 6 other counties, which include Howard, Tipton, Clinton, Carroll, White, and Marshall now. So we have expanded, have school-based services in all of those counties as well as some of our other services.
Wonderful. Great expansion. Of course, thanks for using all your skills and abilities to help people. COVID-19. Let's just address that to start with. It causes mental problems. We've had a lot of mental illness and mental angst because of that, worry, stress. How can people cope and deal with that in this day, especially now that fall's coming, winter's coming again, and maybe we see some uptick in that? What are some ways that people can cope with that stress in their lives?
Sure. So I think one of the most difficult things about COVID is how everybody has seemed kind of isolated.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when everything started kind of shutting down originally, our CEO actually made a point to switch phrasing from social distancing to physical distancing, because the social distancing implies not connecting with people, right? And so physical distancing more so has to do with your physical location. So I think one of the best ways to kind of work through some of the issues people face with this is staying connected virtually, using physical distancing and still, getting together in open spaces or whatever so that they're able to feel that connectedness, because isolation is a lot of times what creates some of those feelings of, fear and loneliness and things like that. And then on top of that, just having some self-care, some time to do self-care, little micro moments of self-care within a day, finding something that brings you joy, and, utilizing those within the day.
So worry, anxiety, stress, what are some ways that Ford County can help in those areas, not just with COVID, but even just in general, life in general, when life happens? What are some things that they can rely on that Ford County can do to help people?
Sure. Well, Ford County has a lot of services that we offer. It's a vast array of services. We have crisis services where anybody can walk in off the street if they're feeling so overwhelmed that they're, contemplating suicide, homicide, anything like that. We have an acute care unit for that. We also just have your psychiatric services, therapy services, like our school-based and community-based services that's working directly with a bunch of people in the community, and that's what we offer. But I think the biggest thing to remember is those feelings are normal, and everybody has them, and the best thing to do is just understand that it's okay to have those feelings. It's when those feelings become so overwhelming that you're unable to do your, function in your daily life, and that's when you need to find the root of whatever that feeling is, and then find a support system and coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
We're real big on coping
Right,
mechanisms.
right. That's great. Well, we've been talking about that this week. We sometimes think that life should be perfect. We live in a perfect world, and when it doesn't happen perfectly, then imperfection stresses us out. And we realize that this is not a perfect world. And so when things like this happen that are normal, everyday occurrences, what are some suggestions? What are some practical tools that people can employ into their lives to help them cope?
Well, I mean, again, it's going to be specific to the person and what they enjoy. Some that I think a lot of people enjoy is listening to music, finding upbeat music that you enjoy that can really pull you out of a slump. Journaling is a really good coping mechanism that people can use. Finding a friend and connecting with them, that connection is really going to be one of the best tools that someone can use.
We've talked about loneliness and isolation this week, and thankfully there are a lot of people who have networks of people, churches and family and friends, but there are people, sadly, that don't have strong connections and do feel lonely and isolated. What are some tools, what are some places that people can go to find some social connections? What is some advice, maybe for older citizens that maybe they've lost a lot of their key friends in life because they passed away, or maybe they've moved, maybe to Florida or whatever? What are some places that people can go to find some resources like that?
Well, I would say finding your local agency on aging. They would probably have your resources for that. I believe Area 5 has some support groups for different demographics that they run. That's what I would recommend, actually. And then our website has all kinds of different COVID-19 resources, patient resources, things like that. But really, I mean, volunteering at somewhere like Emmaus, something like that, finding a church family, or any other local support group like that would be a great way to do that.
So volunteering, taking our minds off of some of our own individual issues and being able to focus on others is so important. You probably see that every week,
Yes.
how important that is. Any examples of scenarios where you mentioned the Emmaus Mission in here in Logansport, churches? Have you seen connections between older people and volunteering to help children? Maybe they don't have grandchildren, but they could help in schools or churches, and how important that is for an older person to have interactions with the younger generation.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, that can give them like a renewed sense of, livelihood and purpose, and, it's like gaining a family member sometimes when they make those connections. So, yeah, anytime that those kinds of connections are able to be made.
We've talked this week how important it is to have a purpose in life. We all have purposes, and sometimes we lose focus on that purpose. Either we find out that circumstances change in our lives and we don't have the tools anymore, or we've lost focus and energy. But in the mindset of purpose and how important it is in our well-being mentally, describe how important purpose can be individually for a person who's older and maybe needs to renew that sense of purpose in their lives. How can they do that?
Sure. So I think really the idea of having purpose, we tend to make it seem like it needs to be a big thing. But purpose can be, as simple as, just setting your own goals for yourself and celebrating small accomplishments. So maybe someone made it to work or school every day that week, or they didn't hit snooze 3 times, they only hit it once, right? Those are little micro moments to be able to celebrate and feel great about, a small achievement. Even finding a friend that you could help, that might be, a way that you feel that sense of purpose, like you were able to talk them through something, or take them to the grocery store, just finding little ways to help your fellow peers out is a great way to, find a sense of purpose.
Right. So if someone wants to contact Fort County Counseling Services, what's the best way to do that?
We have multiple ways. We have our website, which is www.4county.org. You can connect through there, or we have an 800 number that anybody can call at any time. It is 800-552-3106, and they can access help anytime. They can even just walk into our main building next to the hospital.
Great. Lots of resources out there for our help and our stability mentally. We're so glad that you were with us today, focusing on, again, mental health, mental well-being, and having purpose in life. Krista, thank you for being with us, sharing your thoughts. Thank you for the career path that you've chosen to help people. And so thank you. Thanks for being with us this week at Area 5 YouTube. We hope this has been helpful to your life and to the lives of people you love.